Hi, I'm Louis Gudema. I have worked in marketing for something over 30 years. I've worked in digital marketing for over 20 years, and some of the companies that I've worked for include IBM, the Boston Globe, EMC, venture-backed startups like Speechworks and Endeca, as well as early-stage companies and really companies of all sorts. So one of the critical things is to really, in terms of customer development, is to understand your customer. And I think the classic mistake that a lot of very, very bright people, especially at a school like MIT or Tufts or some of the other top institutions in Boston or anywhere, is that you have great ideas about your technology or your field, and you think that because it's a great idea, it's very innovative, it's the leading edge, that it's going to be successful and that people are waiting for it. And there are many, many examples of great technology that was not successful in the marketplace. So the first thing that you have to do is really find out, is talk to a lot of customers, do the research. And when I say a lot of customers, I don't mean 3 or 5 or 10, I mean 50 or to 100, and really find out what their pain is and what they value. Because, for example, sometimes, and I'm not, my area is not biotech, but I've worked a lot with tech and consumer and education, a lot of other fields. So, for example, in the tech area, a company may have really great tech, but what the customer really wants is not more features. They want easy to use, or they want something that's easy to deploy, or that they don't have to go through IT to be able to use it, or any number of other things that are more important to the customer than that it have every possible feature or even the most advanced features. Obviously, cost comes into play, what they can afford, and things of that sort, and what is the real pain that product is addressing. So that's the key first thing that people have to understand by talking to customers. And along the way, you're going to learn a lot of other things. There's a lot of other questions you're going to want to ask, such as, where would they buy this? Who are the influencers? Where do they get their information? What are the publications? What are the conferences? What are the blogs? Or podcasts, or whatever it may be in their particular industry that they value, and that you start to learn what are the channels that you can communicate to them with. Usually for a startup, those first 10, 20, 30 customers are ones that you have to go out and essentially sell to directly. It's not something that marketing is going to necessarily bring into you, but as you go out and through your contacts in the industry, your knowledge of the industry, and the quality of offering that you've developed, you land those customers. You provide them a level of service that is not scalable, that when you have 50 or 100 customers you would never be able to do, but they are so important to you as your first 10 or 20 customers. You need to get their feedback, you need to turn them into passionate advocates and reference accounts, that you are going to give them that level of service. And I think that's the first step in understanding who you're selling to and developing your first customers. Everyone's going to go to market with an idea of who their customer is, what their customer wants, ideally but what they're going to find is that they're going to have to be nimble, because inevitably things are going to happen that are unexpected. And in fact, for startups and for VCs, often what they're looking for is more the character of the person and their skill and ability to handle those kinds of changes successfully than it is the idea that a business plan that they present on day one is actually going to be the one that they're actually implementing 2 years later, which is unlikely. The most likely scenario is that after 6 months they're going to learn things about the market that make them change their business plan. One of the biggest challenges for an entrepreneur is, on the one hand, you want to listen to customers, you want to be responsive to what they want. But on the other hand, when you have very few customers, you don't necessarily know when they say, I would buy your product if you would do X, or if you would change this. You don't really always know, is that the only customer who wants that, or is that something that is an important market insight and I really need to provide that. And that's one of the toughest, I think, balancing acts for entrepreneurs is talking to enough customers and kind of sorting that out so that they don't get pulled off of what's the most important and in the long run most fruitful direction for the company, just to satisfy one customer who thinks they should be pivoting and going in another direction, which ultimately turns out to only be valuable for that one customer. And that's one of the many challenges that entrepreneurs face. So I think the first thing that any individual, whether they're a PhD student or not, who's thinking about starting a company or thinking about how to commercialize any kind of technology, really needs to do is ask themselves, what do they most like doing? What do they want to do? I think there's sometimes too many people who think that the only way that they can commercialize their product, or what they have to do, is create a company. If the person does want to actually start a company, certainly one of the first things that they should do is talk to a number of people who have done it and find out, so they don't have to learn everything from scratch that many other people have learned. I mentor at the MIT Venture Mentoring Service, and whether it's that service or some other, I would highly recommend having mentors. What you typically, what distinguishes VMS is that it's team mentoring. So you don't just have one person as a mentor, but you have a minimum of 2 or 3 mentors, sometimes more. And so you get a range of opinions, you get a lot of insights, and the idea that you can get that insight from people who have had 10, 20, 30 years of business experience, who have seen the things that you're going through now, those challenges, and some of the ways that you can navigate them and come out successful on the other side can be tremendously valuable. I think one of the other things that you then have to do is be very open and honest with your mentors and your advisors about how you're doing, what your challenges are, what you're succeeding at, but more importantly, what you're failing at, or what you're not doing well at. Don't try to come off better than you are. Be very honest with them so they can give you honest, helpful insights.